So this stuff's been sitting all night again. Boy, this is turning into quite the marathon project, but you know, I've been busy. So I put a little excess nitric acid in it before shutting down for the night yesterday. So there's probably some denoxing that needs to be done. I've got my usual saturated solution of sulfamic acid here. I'm going to use for denoxing this. Not too bad. Actually, not much of a reaction. Okay. A little bit of bubbling, but nothing serious. Just in case, though, I'm going to wash these remaining crystals of sulfamic acid in. Okay. So that should be pretty thoroughly denoxed. Let me put some ice on it. Here goes the ice. And when the ice melts, we'll be ready to filter. Yeah, we need to filter. There's some crud in there. So we'll be able to filter it and then drop the gold. Alright, so here's our liquid from the LEDs. It's been denoxed, it's been cooled and diluted. Let's filter all the crud out of it. And then we can drop whatever gold it contains out. Be interesting to see how much there is. Get this done before I get busy with something else and have to leave it again for another day or two or week or month. Bring this process to a close. Too much to do around here. So, normally, if something was nice and yellow at this stage, I would say that's a good thing. This is way too yellow, verging on orange. I know there's not that much gold in there, so there's something else contaminating it. I'm thinking it's probably some iron compound. You know, there was that reddish brown mud in the bottom of this thing that kind of disappeared when I put the aqua regia to it. I know it didn't really go away, it's still there somewhere, so I'm prepared for this to be a very dirty gold drop. Alright, this is going to take a while. The filter's starting to plug up. I'll be back when we're done. Okay, the filtered liquid is back in the cleaned beaker, back in the fume hood. Get the fume hood running because I don't want to smell the sulfur dioxide that's going to be produced when I put some SMB in there. I think I said earlier I'm prepared for this to be a dirty, ugly gold drop because that is not the right color. That is way too orange. I know there's not enough gold in there for the color to be that deep. So something else, maybe some iron compounds, who knows. On the bright side though, just look at how clear this liquid's getting. The scum layers all the way down here to the bottom inch of the beaker. And I may just let this sit for another day or two and see how low this scum layer settles out. There's some nice clean liquid up here which I will siphon off eventually. I'll try and get some silver out of it. But next couple days, kind of problematic. There's a lot going on. So, let me see if I can just get this gold dropped for now. Some SMB Onid stump out. Contains sodium metabisulfite, which is just what we need to drop this gold. Other brands of stump removers use different chemicals that don't work, but Onid SMB does work. Fair amount of foaming right off. I'm going to put in one more spoonful, and we'll see if that does anything. If not, I'll add more. But that's a lot of SMB in there. We'll see if we get a reaction. Looks to me like it might have lightened up some, which would be normal if this was just pure a gold solution, not polluted with other stuff. It would lighten up and then it would get darker. So we'll see if it gets darker now. May take a while. Well, we'll see what happens. Okay, it took a couple minutes, but it's darkening up. I walked away just long enough to clean my filter funnel and come back, and yep, it's darkening up, turning brown. Gold's coming out of solution. We'll just have to wait and see how much we get. Going to be a really busy day tomorrow, so this may actually sit for a couple of days before I have a chance to do anything with it, but that's okay, because all the gold will have a chance to settle to the bottom, and then we'll see what we got. Okay, this stuff has been sitting here now for 2, 3, 4 days. I forget. Lost track of time. Been busy with other stuff. Really busy. So the gold has all settled out. There's a nice layer of it on the bottom. Probably looks like more than there is. Now that gold took a long time to settle, so it's fairly fine. It's got a good color though. It's kind of a brick red color, rather than, you know, the really, really fine black stuff. But it did take a long time to settle out of the water column. So I'm thinking that's not a particularly clean gold drop. Plus the color of the liquid, it's still quite yellow-green, which I imagine iron, copper compounds in there, probably. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to siphon off the bulk of the liquid, like I normally do, down there, and I'm going to wash the gold. Wash it with some distilled water, boil it, see if I can get it to agglomerate together. If it wants to stay really fine and not settle out, what I'll probably have to do is just capture it on a filter and then, you know, redissolve it in Aqua Regia and see if I can get a cleaner gold drop that way. This stuff over here has been sitting for quite a while, and it's a little weird. You know, we got a layer of brown mud at the bottom, which probably isn't showing up. It's maybe, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch thick. We got clear blue liquid, and then there's a layer of hazy white liquid up at the top. So this is starting to look like the silver abomination from Nick's chips. So I don't know. But what I will probably do with this too is siphon off this liquid down to above the mud layer at the bottom, and then filter it really well and see how it looks before I try and drop any gold out of it. In fact, I may try a small scale sample on this with just, you know, in a small beaker with a little piece of copper, just to see what happens, so that it doesn't turn all orange and nasty and start growing weird brown crystals all over the copper like it did with Nick's chips. Never did figure that out. I may be coming out with a video on what happened. There has been some interest in the footage I didn't use when I was trying to get silver out of Nick's chips, which I cut out just because the video was getting too long. People in the comments of the video are saying, yeah, we'd like to see that footage, so I may put that all together and release something. So anyway, that's what I got to do. I got a lot of siphoning ahead of me. I'm going to siphon this down and see if I can get this gold cleaned up. I'm going to siphon this down and then probably filter this. I'm going to do that in 2 steps, siphoning and filtering, just because I got a feeling the filter will get really clogged up if I just try and filter this. So let me get set up for it. Okay, let's get to siphoning. This container serves as my temporary stock pot. I let liquid I siphon off a gold solution sit in this container for a few days to a week or 2 until it's full. Then I'll decant off most of the liquid into my actual stock pot. But what's amazing is, well, gold keeps coming out of solution over time, and I've got quite a dusting of gold on the bottom of this thing. Maybe I'll give you a close-up view of it later. But yeah, I don't put stuff directly into the stock pot anymore. I let it hang out in here for a few days, week, whenever, however long it takes to fill this up. And because it's a lot easier to get this gold out of here than it is out of the bottom of the stock pot. So that's a new little trick I've kind of figured out accidentally. I was just too lazy to put some waste liquid in the stock pot for a while and let it sit. Came back and it's like, whoa, look at all the gold that's on the bottom of that pitcher that I poured this into. Maybe I need to do that every time. Now, somebody did leave a comment in one of my last videos about why am I not using vacuum to do this to speed it up. And yes, it would speed it up, and yes, I have the equipment to do this sort of vacuum siphoning. I can adapt my vacuum filtration system for vacuum siphoning. In fact, I have done vacuum siphoning in the past. Yes, it speeds things up something wonderful. Problem is, right here, I don't want to have a lot of suction at this point because I don't want to suck up a lot of the gold off the bottom of this beaker. I want to get the vast bulk of the liquid out of here without sucking out much of any of the gold if I can. And you know, the vacuum siphoning, it's just going to go suck that liquid right out of there, make it all turbid with gold dust, and a lot of it will go up the hose. You know, I'll probably get a little bit up the hose, but it's going to wind up in here where it'll settle out to the bottom with the other gold that's settling out to the bottom. And it'll be really easy to capture again. You know, I'll just pour off the bulk of this liquid into my stock pot and then pour the rest of it through a filter and capture it. Throw that filter in. Next time I make an aqua regia to dissolve something, throw that filter in there and get a little extra gold for free. Nothing goes to waste. And speaking of my stock pot, it is full too. I need to siphon off some liquid from it into my waste bucket, but my waste bucket is full. And it's not just full of waste liquid, it is getting pretty darn full of cement copper. So I need to do something. I was going to start a new waste bucket and figure out something to do with all that cement copper in the old waste bucket. So I had a couple of old mower blades from our big riding mower sitting around. Now I was going to cut them up into pieces as kind of starter for in the new waste bucket to cement out the copper and other metals, other heavy metals. Well, those mower blades seem to have grown legs and wandered off, so now I don't have any scrap iron around here to start a new waste bucket. And I find that kind of annoying. I don't know who would want a couple of old dull mower blades, but they do seem to have disappeared. So I gotta find some scrap iron somewhere. I do need to do some iron work soon, so I will have some scrap iron from doing iron work, but that may be a week or 2 off. Okay, that's pretty good. I think what I shall do is wash the gold that's left in this beaker into a smaller beaker and get it boiling in some distilled water to get the last of the yellow-green stuff out of it. See if I can get it to agglomerate together. If it looks like it's going to agglomerate, I'll change the water a couple of times. If it's just going to stay all turbid and not come out of the water column, I'll probably just have to capture it on a filter and redissolve it in aqua regia. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, well, I put this into the gold into a smaller beaker, put it on the heat with some distilled water, and went to lunch. Come back, it's boiling nicely. The gold seems to be agglomerated in the bottom. It's not all scattered through the water column and not wanting to settle out, so that's really good. I was afraid I'd come back and just find a brown cloud in there, but no, this is good. The gold is agglomerating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the heat, let it quit boiling, let it settle, and I'm going to change the water and put it on and boil it again. And then I'm going to get set up to filter that blue-green liquid that should have a fair amount of silver in it. Okay, I got the water changed on the gold in there. It's coming up to a boil again. I just let it settle, let it stop boiling and settle, and then gently poured the water off into my temporary stock pot back there. I'm sure a little bit of fine gold came with the water, but that's okay. It'll wind up at the bottom of the temporary stock pot. I'll get it with the rest of the gold that was there. So now let me deal with this stuff. See what we got going on here. So this stuff tested positive for silver, but it's looking a lot like the stuff I got out of Nick's IC chips a video or two back. So that makes me a little bit gun shy about trying to get the gold out of this. Yeah, my phone's ringing, but it's almost always spam this time of day. They like to call with spam around lunchtime. I guess they figure you're not working at lunch, you know? Now, I did get an email from somebody who said he's had the same kind of issues as I had when I was processing Nick's chips with trying to get the silver out. And he was saying the problem is PGMs. And, well, I can kind of believe it. I can kind of believe it. Because I think I might have been seeing, you know, signs of palladium in the liquid. So it's very possible it's a PGM issue. I don't know what's in LEDs. I mean, this is the first time I've processed them in any quantity. I tend to just throw them in with my plastic IC chips because I've never had a huge number of them before. So I don't know, you know, what all is in them. I mean, it looked like there was a fair amount of silver in them, both in the metal after incineration and in this liquid right here. Woo! Oh, the punk trees are in bloom. They get both my wife and I sneezing. So it could be PGMs that got in the way. And I don't know, for all I know, maybe the most of the silver wound up in this layer of orange mud on the bottom of this beaker. I don't know. I'm hoping most of it's still in this liquid. I guess I'll have to test it again and find out. Okay, let's test this liquid and see whether we got silver in solution. This is tap water right here. A little bit of tap water in this beaker. And a couple pipettes of this stuff. Oh yeah. I don't know if that's showing up, but look how cloudy that got. That's all cloudy. That's silver chloride. So there's silver in here. You know what else though? It smells of nitric acid. I think this needs to be denoxed some. I think there needs to be a little bit of nitric acid in it to get the reaction going where it cements out on copper. But if there's too much, it'll just sit there dissolving copper and bubbling away for days before anything starts happening. So I'm going to denox this a little bit, or at least see if it needs denoxing, because it's kind of got the odor of nitric acid about it. Yeah, I can believe there might be some excess nitric acid in here because, you know, this is the liquid I decanted off as I was dissolving the metal, and I just kept adding more nitric to it until the reaction stopped, decanted it off, add more. Certainly the last treatment probably had a lot of extra acid in it after all the metal was dissolved. So I'm going to use urea to denox this. I don't normally use urea to denox a lot of my solutions, but in this case I don't want to use sulfamic acid because it will interact with the nitric acid to create sulfuric acid, and silver sulfate is insoluble, so it'll come out of solution as a insoluble powder, which I don't want. So we're just going to put a little urea in it and stir it up. Now I'm not seeing a strong reaction, so maybe there's not a lot of excess nitric acid in here. You know, there's not a lot of bubbling going on. So maybe it's just the aroma it has. Maybe there's not really a whole lot of excess nitric acid in there, but oh yeah, now I see some fizzing. Okay, now the whole thing's filling up with white bubbles. Okay, it just took a while for the reaction to start. Now, yeah, it's foaming, it's fizzing. Oh yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's showing up, how well it's showing up. We got quite a reaction going on in there right now. It's just delayed start. I maybe put a little bit more urea in there. We'll get this denoxed and then I'll filter it just so it's nice and clean. No particulates in it. I'm sure I got some over when I was siphoning. And also this urea is not particularly clean. There's, you know, it's fertilizer, so it's got stuff in it. So, alright, so I'm going to hit this with a little more urea, stir it up. Reaction dies down, I'll get set up for filtration. Alright, I think we're pretty well denoxed now. A couple more doses of urea in there. Didn't get much fizzing out of the last dose, so I think we're there. Let's get this stuff filtered. Still got some gas in solution from the denoxing. It's coming out in the partial vacuum of the beaker. And the filter is catching some crud, so filtering this was a good idea. If there's no drama and I put, you know, some copper in there to cement the silver out on and it goes well, we should get some nice clean silver. I mean, it won't be perfectly pure. There'll be a little copper contamination. There'll probably be some PGMs in it. But probably, you know, better than sterling purity. Alright, this is going to take a while. You don't have to watch it all. Okay, this is kind of like the same behavior I was seeing when I processed Nick's chip. Filtering the liquid makes it cloudy. That makes no sense to me. A fairly clear liquid went into the filter and a cloudy liquid came out. So I don't know what's going on there. And the filter looks clean. Caught probably a little bit of the brown mud that made it through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this back in here and I'm going to filter it again, and maybe again, and maybe again. Keep running it through the same filter. Sooner or later the pores in the filter will get clogged up enough to catch whatever this is, and hopefully we'll wind up with a nice clean liquid. But It didn't work so well last time. Okay, this liquid's been through the filter 3 times. It doesn't seem to be getting any clearer. It's got like just a slight cloudiness to it. That is very, very, very odd. I don't know what's going on there. Whatever's clouding it is super fine. It's going right through the filter. The filter's not plugging up. It's not getting any clearer. So, you may just have to live with it as is. But like I think I said before, I'm a little gun shy after the problems I had with Nix chips. I think I'm going to try a small scale test, cementation test, and see what happens before going full scale on this. Just to make sure I don't wind up with a horrible mess again. Okay, so here's my small scale test I wanted to run. I put about 225 milliliters of this liquid in this little beaker here. It's a nice bright shiny copper wire. Gonna put it in there and gonna watch it for a while and see what happens. I'll tell you what, it looks like it's getting silver plated. That's what it looks like. So maybe we will have undramatic silver cementation. Huh. I don't know. I don't know if that's showing up or not. It looks like it's something's going on in there. Just cover it up and watch it for a while and see if we get some actual silver cementation or we wind up with the strange precipitates that we got back when I was doing Nix chips. If it looks like we're getting some actual silver cementation, I'll go full scale on that beaker over there. Meanwhile, this gold is boiling away in here. I think it's pretty clean now. It's certainly agglomerated together nice, which is a little bit surprising to me. I wasn't expecting that. I think what I'll do is turn the heat off, let it cool down a little, decant off this rinse water, and then dry out the gold and see if there's enough in there to move the scale and get a weight. Okay, nothing terrible seems to be happening with my small scale sample. In spite of the cloudiness of the liquid, there does seem to be cement silver coming out on the copper, quite a bit of it for such a small amount of liquid, so I guess it's pretty concentrated in silver. So I think I'll go ahead with my large scale. I'll get another bigger coil of copper and I'll put it in this one and we'll see what happens. So okay, here's the big beaker with the bigger copper wire coil in it, and it's been maybe 5 minutes since I put it in, and you can see the silver already starting to cement out. So it looks like this is going to happen without drama. Great, wonderful. We'll see how much silver we get too, along with the gold. Okay, it's been a few more minutes. We got the classic stalactites and stalagmites of cement silver forming, but I'll tell you what, we got a heck of a storm blowing in, so I got to batten down the hatches and head in for a while before it gets here, and we'll come back out and have another look at it later. This one here too just got a lot of silver on it, so good, excellent. All right, let me get in before the rain starts. Well, it's been, I don't know, maybe an hour. The worst of the storm has blown over. It's still raining a little, but not too bad. So the silver cementation seems to be going very well in spite of the cloudiness of the liquid. This one over here, my small scale test run, a lot of silver coming out in there, so that's good. Yeah, meanwhile, here's the gold drying out. It's not a very big pile, and it's going to look like a lot less when it's dry. So still, my scale's pretty sensitive. We should be able to get a weight on this and see how much gold was in all those LEDs. Not quite a kilogram we started with, remember. So we'll see. Yeah, it's going to take a while for this reaction to finish. I mean, we've got a lot of silver cementing out already in both beakers here, but this is a slow process, so I'm going to let this run the rest of today and probably a good way into tomorrow before I call it. But this needs to run to completion, and that's going to take a little while. So, I'm going to let it sit, and I'm going to get out of the rain. Well, it's the afternoon of the next day. So this has been sitting here for close to 24 hours. The silver's starting to slough off of the coils and fall down. What's interesting though, and I hope it's showing up. It is now. I don't know if light helps or not. Whatever was clouding the liquid has all settled to the bottom. Now I could not filter that stuff out. I ran it through the filter 3 times and the filter wasn't touching it. But over time it has settled out. So even over here in my my initial test beaker, there's a layer of that stuff at the bottom that's settled out. Looks like some sort of alien creature in there with all the silver caked all over the copper I put in there. Very neat. But I'm going to let this sit at least until tomorrow. What I have found is that there is still significant silver in these solutions even after a day or so. And it takes a while for it to all come out as solution. This lighting is terrible. I don't think that's really helping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake them and get the silver to come down to the bottom and expose more copper, so that hopefully we can get some more silver out of the solution. And then maybe tomorrow or the next day I will actually pull it out of there and deal with it. But I'm going to have to deal with this scum at the bottom, whatever it is, too. So here's our gold. Sure doesn't look like much now that it's dried out. Should be enough to weigh though, but I bet it's not going to weigh very much. Let me put the camera on the tripod, we'll weigh it up. Okay, let's find out exactly how much gold we've got here. Not exactly something you can retire on, I don't think. Oh yeah. That's a pretty poor showing. About 1/5 of a gram. From just under a kilo of starting material. But still, you know, I keep saying, and it's very true, that urban gold mining like this is a whole lot more lucrative than pulling gold out of the ground, because you'll never find gold ore these days that's as rich in gold, you know, 1/5 of a gram per kilo in the ground anywhere. Only in e-waste are you going to find material that rich in gold. So, hey, it's something. This was an experiment. I wasn't expecting to get a lot of gold. I knew there was some gold in LEDs, but didn't know how much. It's looking like we're going to get a lot of silver, though. Well, yet another day has passed. I've just left this stuff sit. I think the reaction's about done. There was actually a little bit of silver reaccumulated on the coil when I got out here this morning. I shook a coil. It fell off, and I haven't really seen any more grow back on. That one had a little bit on it. It just fell off. Now what's interesting though is the liquid is stratifying. We got this layer of silver down here and whatever that white stuff that was in solution that I couldn't get out down here. Then we got a layer of greenish blue, and then we got a layer of clear blue. And both beakers have stratified that way. So that's very interesting. I don't know what the greenish stuff is. Maybe some kind of iron compound. I wouldn't be surprised. So I think what I'm going to do is I've got some maintenance to do around the farm. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this for the rest of today, and maybe tomorrow see if I can get the silver out, clean it up, and weigh it. And I have an idea for getting rid of this white gunk down here on the bottom of the beakers. Since it was so hard to get out of the water column, I couldn't filter it out and it took forever to settle out. What I can do is just agitate and stir it up. The silver will fall to the bottom fairly quickly, and I can decant off the liquid and take the bulk of this stuff with it. And then maybe do that once or twice and get rid of it. So I think that's what I'll do. And I will probably get set up for that tomorrow, and we'll see just how much silver we got out of those LEDs. Oh, and I was thinking about something else too. I need to go back and review the earlier footage. But I'm thinking that maybe what happened is when I denoxed this liquid with urea, that's when this white precipitate formed. I don't remember the video. I don't remember the liquid being cloudy before that. I could be wrong. Like I said, I need to go back and review the footage and see if it shows clearly enough whether it was cloudy or not. But I'm wondering if denoxing this with urea caused this precipitate to form. Maybe changing the pH, bringing the pH up, allowed the precipitate to form. I don't know. Maybe it's some urea compound even. Hard to say. So I'll have to go look at the earlier footage. But it's just a theory. Could be totally wrong. Okay, it's another day, and this is the day we go after the silver. I'm gonna collect it, clean it up, dry it out, and weigh it, and see how much silver we've got here. And the first thing I gotta do is get the copper out, sort of get it cleaned off. Now I tested this liquid last night, did it off camera, but I tested this liquid last night and it had no detectable silver left in it. So it's been sitting here, what, 3, 4, 5 days? Lost track of time. There's been a lot going on. So here's my theory. I'm going to stir this up really good and see if I can get that white layer of stuff at the bottom back suspended in the water column. And then once the silver settles down to the bottom, I will decant off the liquid. And hopefully that white stuff will come with the liquid and the silver will stay behind. That's the theory anyway. We'll see if it works in practice. Yeah, actually in practice that white stuff seems to have plated itself on the bottom of the beaker. That's okay. If it wants to stay in the beaker when the silver comes out, that'll work too. So I'll let this stuff settle for a bit just to make sure that the silver's all out of the water column. This one's settling pretty quick. Then I'll decant off the liquid. Okay, it's been a few minutes. This stuff's had time to settle a little bit. Ooh. Although there's a lot of it floating over here in this beaker. Let me see if I can get it to sink. Yeah, that silver needs to sink. But, pour this stuff off. Yep, and there's some nice cement silver. It always looks like so much when it's wet, but I know there's just a fraction of a gram there, and altogether we probably don't have more than a gram or two. But when it's wet and fluffy, it sure does look like a lot of silver. Okay. Yeah, you need this. I may have to give this a couple more minutes. I'm not sure why all of a sudden so much of the silver wants to float. See if I can get it to sink. Sink to the bottom. I don't want to pour too much over with the water. Well, it's been a few more minutes. This stuff seems to have settled, so let me pour off the bulk of the liquid here. See how much silver we've got in the bottom of this one. And the liquid is coming off cloudy, so I guess I got a lot of that white stuff back in the water column, so that's good. It's leaving. We got a big pile of cement silver in the bottom of this beaker. Nice. Okay, that's all I'm taking out of there. You wash what's in this beaker into here. Okay. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in a smaller beaker. Because I need to clean this beaker. I don't want to process the silver in this beaker because I need to clean the white stuff sticking to the bottom out of it. Get all the silver in here. Okay, so I need to clean these two beakers. And what I'm going to do here is back to the sides. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some more distilled water in here. And just give everything a really good stir and wait for it to settle again. And then decant off the water and see if I can get some more of this blue-green color out of it before we move on to the steps of boiling this stuff in some distilled water. So let me clean up these beakers, we'll let that settle, and then I'll decant it off and then we'll move on to some boiling. Okay, this has had time to settle pretty well. Decant off the bulk of the liquid, which has got the blue-green color to it and more of the cloudy white stuff, whatever it is. I'm sure I'm getting a little silver over, but not very much. If I really wanted to capture all of it, I could run this liquid through a filter and then process the filter. I have actually a pile of filters from silver processing, which someday I will process all those filters and get the silver out. But there's not much silver in here. I'm not sure it's worth the effort of actually bothering. So I'm going to put this in the fume hood on a hot plate and see if I can get it up to a boil. And hopefully the silver will agglomerate together some. And we'll get some more of this blue-green liquid out of it. And some more of the white precipitate, whatever it is, hopefully will stay in the water column. Well, got a nice rolling boil going in there. Looks like the silver has kind of agglomerated and settled to the bottom. That's nice. The liquid still has a little bit of a blue-green tint to it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to decant that off, put some fresh distilled water on it, and put it back on the boil, and keep doing that until the liquid is clear. Then we should have some good clean silver in there. Alright, I changed the rinse water 3 times, and it looks coming off pretty darn clean. Nice bit of silver sponge down there in the bottom of the beaker. Just gonna let it dry out slowly over low heat, and we'll see how much is left after it dries out. It sure looks big and fluffy when it's wet, but I know that it's gonna really compress down to nothing pretty much as it dries, and just be a light fluffy powder and not much of it. So we'll be lucky to get a couple grams out of this, I'm thinking. So I'll be back when it's dry and ready to weigh it up. Alright, here we go. It's the moment of truth. Let's find out how much silver we got. And I have to say, this looks like more silver than I thought I was gonna get. Yeah, this is a fair amount of silver by the looks of it. Let's see what it actually weighs. I was expecting to get 1, maybe 2 grams, but I don't know. Yeah, we're almost up to 2 grams already. I don't know if my little weigh boat's big enough. I might have to start over again with something bigger. Yeah, let me start over again. I'll just use the cover from the scale. Okay, that's better. Now let's see how much silver we've got here. Oh my. More than double what I thought we were going to get. There's still some stuck to the inside of the beaker too. Okay, so this is a bit of a surprise. There's still just a little bit, like a light haze of it stuck to the inside of the beaker. I'm sure it's not enough to make any difference weight-wise. But 4.1 grams of silver. I am surprised. That is a lot more silver than I was expecting to get. I was thinking we were going to get, you know, 1.5, 2 grams tops. But wow, no, we got a lot of silver here. So those LEDs contained an awful lot of silver. I'm thinking maybe reflector inside. I don't know. Silver's like the most reflective metal. So maybe they use it inside as a reflector. I don't know. But wow. Okay. So let me add this silver to my cement silver jar. It's getting about half full. Sooner or later this will all be melted down into bars. Or I'll use it for inquarting karat gold or placer gold when I process it. So, alright, let me sum things up here in a second. Well, that was an interesting exercise. Only about 1/5 of a gram of gold, but 4.1 grams of silver came out of that. Almost 1 kilo of LEDs. That was kind of interesting. I was not expecting to get so much silver. I was kind of expecting not to get a lot of gold. I didn't believe there was a lot of gold there, not really. So, but still, it was an interesting experiment. In the future, I don't know if it's really worth segregating out the LEDs and doing them separately in large batches. I think I'll just keep doing what I've been doing for years now and just throw them in with my plastic ICs and process them along with the plastic ICs. Because I get the gold and silver out of plastic ICs, and you know, I don't really see any point in segregating them. But anyway, that was an interesting experiment, one that I think needed to be done just for my own curiosity, just to know whether I needed to be segregating them or not. So I hope you found it interesting, educational, informative. If so, give the video a thumbs up, give it a like, and subscribe to see some of my future videos. They will be coming out fast and furious. Press that little bell icon that YouTube makes you press to get notified when new videos come out. And thanks a lot for watching. See you next time. Bye.